Good morning. Welcome to the First Religious Society Unitarian Universalist in Newburyport, Massachusetts. My name is Joanna Fernandez, and I am delighted to serve as your worship associate this morning. If you are joining us for the first time, welcome. We are glad that you are here. We come together at FRS in person and online, committed to love, peace, and justice. Our mission and our invitation to each of you is to come as you are, journey together in love, act with courage, transform our world. If you are worshiping online and would like to access this morning's order of service, please click on the link in the video description. If you would like a large print order of service or hymnal, please ask an usher and they will be happy to help you. I would like to draw your attention to the many activities and events happening here at the church, which are listed in your order of service. Our Dinner Anywhere in the World raffle is back, and there is just 1 week left to participate. Tickets are $25. Information about how to purchase tickets is in your order of service. Cash and checks are welcome. The rummage sale is also back. Stop by Parish Hall this Thursday and Friday, June 6th and 7th. Finally, please make sure to be at church bright and early next Sunday, June 9th, for our annual meeting. This year, we are combining our morning worship and the business of the meeting. The meeting will begin at 10:30, but you can check in with Diane Carroll beginning at 9:30 a.m. We ask that all members register in advance so that we know that we'll have a quorum. Information for registering can be found in your order of service. All are welcome to this special service, but only members can vote. If you are interested in becoming a member, feel free to speak to any staff member. Thank you. It is good to be together.
Our call to worship this morning are words from Diane Ackerman from a poem called The Wonders of the Planet. Knee-deep in cosmic overwhelm, I am stricken by ricochet wonder of it all, the everything of everything, in cahoots with the everythingness of everything else. You are faithfully called to worship. Please rise in body or spirit and join in singing our opening hymn, 298, Wake Now, My Senses, in your gray hymnal.
Thank you. Please be seated. Please join in saying our chalice lighting words as Bessie lights the chalice. The words can be found in your order of service. This morning, our words are a responsive reading. You are invited to respond with the bold text. We gather this hour as children of the stars, with the same origins, the same evolutionary history. Our lights are reflections of the cosmic and sacred light. Our sameness and complexity are marvels. Fashioned from the same stardust, nourished by the same planet. For the time we are here, let us care for our home and one another.
Our candles of peace this morning are being lit by Lance Heidi, who is representing the Green Team, who care for our planet and guide us in our work towards sustainability. And also by Betsy Hazen, who represents the Pastoral Care Associates, who care for our people, steadily and quietly, day in, month in, and year after year. Our first candle of peace this morning is a care of concern for South India and for the people, particularly in New Delhi, where climate change has caused heat waves, bringing unprecedented intensity of heat for durations that they have not experienced before. In New Delhi last week on Wednesday, the temperature was recorded at 127 degrees. This is causing water shortages that are driving illnesses, exasperating illnesses that were already rampant because of the heat, and children particularly are suffering. We pray that we may all have the will to be persistent in our efforts to work towards climate sustainability. To this we respond, peace, shalom. Our second candle this morning is a candle of gratitude and appreciation towards Nancy Kidd and Linda Hardwick for their work in launching this, in the last few months, the support group for caretakers of people who are suffering from Alzheimer's, dementia, and memory-related illness. The support group is up and running thanks to their leadership and guidance, and some prompting from Richard George, who started this whole thing. There will be one final meeting this church year on June 19th, and then they will resume again in the fall. So we thank them for their leadership. To this we say, peace, shalom. Please join me now in saying and rise for the affirmation of faith. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest of truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve all creation in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow together with the divine. Thus do we covenant with each other and with God.
The generosity of our community is an essential ministry that supports the work of the church, both in Newburyport and beyond. Each week, 50% of the Sunday offering not designated as a pledge goes to a local community partner engaged in important efforts to transform our region. The June shared collection goes to support Newburyport Pride. Newburyport Pride unites, educates, and engages people to support and empower the LGBTQ+ community and their allies, with a focus on inclusion. They work to educate the wider community on diversity topics in order to build a stronger and healthier society. Newburyport Pride facilitates LGBTQ+ Pride events that inspire, commemorate, and celebrate our diverse community through unity and visibility. To give online, please use the link in your order of service or below the live stream. You can also make a contribution by text, and of course, you can always mail a check to the church as well. Thank you. The offering will now be gratefully received.
Each week, we lift up the joys and sorrows of our beloved faith community. Linda Harding, our pastoral care associate, will light the candles as I read what has been shared with me in advance of today's service. If you would like to share a joy or sorrow to be read in the service, you can always send an email to betweenus@frsuu.org or write in the vestibule, in the book located in the vestibule. Our first candle today is written for Art Henshaw and Yvonne McWilton, who share with us the sorrowful news that they had to put down their beloved Labradoodle Charlie, their beloved companion and friend of 13 years. They write that Charlie was always very sensitive and seemed to know who needed dog love and would immediately go to them, and that Yvonne many times benefited from that sensibility, and that Charlie will be sorely missed. Another FRS member has shared anonymously that they are celebrating today 40 years of sobriety. We are so happy for them. And a third joyful candle from Woman, who says, "A joyful, prideful day yesterday. Woman is so honored to be blessed to be part of this community." And for any of you who were downtown yesterday, it was buzzy, and FRS was certainly well represented. We light one final candle representing all of those joys and sorrows, though unsaid, which are held in just as much love and care. So please join me in a few minutes of silence as we hold these joys and concerns, and whatever ones you might be holding, in silence in our hearts. Thank you. Now we will have a reflection on awe by Mark Hodgson.
Okay. Good morning. A beam of light just left the surface of our nearest star, the sun, getting 186,000 miles closer every second. It will strike the church in 8 minutes and 19 seconds. Space is big. 2 months ago, my older grandson and I headed north. We arrived in Little Newport, Vermont, as did many thousands of others, on the early afternoon of April the 8th. With a beach towel and a grocery bag of junk food, we established our viewing spot on a sidewalk at the south shore of the lake that straddles the town. Across the water was Canada, and closer, Prudy Beach, where a loud municipal eclipse program was going on for the gathered crowd. A partial eclipse began to the second, as forecast, and it was not that dramatic. Mostly people were testing how well their eclipse glasses worked. But I noticed that my grandson and I were talking a little faster and more excitedly, even as not too much was happening yet. But cheers came up from across the water and our side too at the flash that started totality. Then mostly silence ensued as everyone transcended normality for 3 minutes. The darkening during partiality had been slow and subtle until totality's instant shock. The goofy glasses came off. The sun was a silver halo with a cottony corona, and Venus immediately appeared below and to the right as the automated streetlights came on. I was struck by a thought that was impossible really to ignore at the time for me, that the black disk that was covering the sun had been a world physically separate from humanity until just half a century ago, when 12 people actually visited it. Though together they constitute only a few billionths of our species, we can share something of their experience. My grandson and I were hushed in awe until the excitement of the spectacle, of the moment, of the beauty, and even of the crowd caught up with us and accompanied our goosebumps. Connecting with the universe invokes awe. And at once we connected with the moon, the sun, Venus, and even some stars. My phone was not up to the task of photographing the sun, but it did a reasonable job on the beauty of the so-called 360-degree sunset. Then there was that instantaneous, searing, white-hot flash. Totality was all over, and the glasses came on again. What we all had seen and felt was so very worth the agonizing traffic of the trip home. Dr. Keltner is a social psychologist at the Greater Good Science Center at UC Berkeley. He has contributed to a field of psychology known as meaning in life, a perspective that, through considerable research, has come to focus on 3 factors that, taken together, support a satisfyingly meaningful life for most people. These factors are coherence, or the extent to which your life seems to make sense to you, your sense of purpose in life, and significance, or your sense that you matter to other people. Last year, a Scientific American article about meaning in life prompted the Elderhood Group Steering Committee, shout out to Alex Mezzi, Julie Parker Amory, Jean Noonan, and Howard Mandeville, prompted them to choose the program topic of awe, because the Meaning in Life School views awe as a factor that can enhance the other three. Dr. Keltner's team has been researching awe for over 20 years. And in his most recent book, Awe, the New Science of Everyday Wonder and How It Can Transform Your Life, it begins with some basic definitions. Wonder is the mental state of openness, questioning, curiosity, and embracing mystery. Wonder arises out of experiences of awe. Awe is the feeling of being in the presence of something vast that transcends your current understanding of the world. Keltner's team studied the experience of awe in people of 26 different cultures around the world. His team has found 8 realms of experience that are common sources of awe. I'll go through these very quickly, but anyway, I'll give some advice about that too. Moral beauty, what they call moral beauty, is other people's kindness and courage, examples of that. The excitement of a crowd, which they call, I love this term, collective effervescence, accompanies things like dancing or musical events or sporting events. Nature, most of us have had some experience of that, like just a good walk in the woods. Music, visual design, spirituality, of course, and big ideas or epiphanies, and definitely not least, life and death, or the life cycle. As I was saying, a lot more on these 8 sources, and on the awe quiz, if any of you took the awe quiz, and on awe in general, can be found through the link in the QR code that's in your order of service. It's a lot of references, but I would recommend the first video clip, What is Awe?, and also the Dr. F. Perry Wilson clip on All Walks. They're brief and I think very interesting. Now, that total eclipse on April 8th was a grand slam. It generated awe through the experience of nature, through collective effervescence, through the apprehension of big ideas, and spirituality. But anyone can experience awe from an observant walk in the woods, or hearing favorite meaningful music, or having a shared dramatic experience with a loved one. Feeling awe is good for you. It goes beyond just that feeling. It can help to provide a sense of meaning in life and connect you with the universe. Remember that sunbeam I mentioned in the beginning? In a little over a minute, it will bounce off of the church paint and eventually head back into space, where it may not encounter any other matter for 1,000,000 or 1,000,000,000 years, into a realm of awe and wonder. Reverend Jane is going to guide us in that direction.
Wondrous
Our reading this morning comes from Mary Oliver, entitled Mindful. Every day I see or hear something that more or less kills me with delight, that leaves me like a needle in a haystack of light. It is what I was born for: to look, to listen, to lose myself in this soft world, to instruct myself over and over in joy and acclamation. Nor am I talking about the exceptional, the fearful, the dreadful, the very extravagant, but of the ordinary, the common, the very drab in daily presentations. Oh, good scholar, I say to myself, how can you help but grow wise with such teachings as these? The untrimmable light of the world. The oceans shine. The prayers that are made out of grass.
Thank you, Joanna and Mark. I'm going to be talking this morning about radical amazement, and in doing so, I will be sharing with you a few images which are coming from the James T. Webb Telescope, way, way out in the cosmos. Talking about this topic is challenging because it brings us into areas of vastness and distances which are, for me, completely incomprehensible. Scientists. I am not a scientist. What I do bring to this topic is a sense of wonder and an openness to mystery. And whether or not you have a scientific background, I believe that each of us can bring a sense of wonder and open ourselves up to mystery. I will be borrowing from Judy Canato's book, Radical Amazement, and also from Ursula Goodenough's Sacred Depth of Nature, and also from the Nova series, Decoding the Universe. What is radical amazement? This phrase was coined by Rabbi Abraham Henschel, a leading Jewish theologian of the 20th century. Rabbi Henschel wrote, "Radical amazement is the chief characteristic of a religious attitude towards life and a proper response to our experience of the divine." And I will suggest this morning that radical amazement is also a proper response to our new understanding of the universe and our place in it. This is a familiar image, I'm sure. Our home is the cosmos, but this is our home. The Milky Way is our home galaxy. And as you all know, the Milky Way contains 100 billion stars and the sun. And after a billion years of consolidation of the early atmosphere of the Earth, and a billion years is a very, very long time, the Earth's atmosphere finally stabilized sufficiently so that life could originate and continue. So all the stars that we see at night are from one galaxy. Our understanding of the universe, of how it works, and of our place in it has changed radically over the last 50 years. Up until medieval times, most astronomers believed that the Earth was the center of the universe. In 1543, Nicholas Copernicus published his model, placing the sun in the center of the universe. But it wasn't until 1920, most astronomers believed that our galaxy, the Milky Way, constituted the entirety of the universe. Today we know that our galaxy is just one of billions of galaxies. In 1923, Edward Hubble photographed the Andromeda Nebula, which lies 2.5 million light years distant from our galaxy, proving for the first time that we were not the whole shebang. There was a lot more out there than just us. This image, which I hope you can see, that pale blue dot, That's the Earth. And Carl Sagan called this iconic image pale blue dot. It is an image of the Earth that was photographed by the Voyager 1 space probe as it went beyond the orbit of any solar system planets. This magnified image was taken, the Earth was 3.7 billion miles away from the Voyager. Today, as I said, we know that there are billions of galaxies. We are one of billions, not the center. And each galaxy has billions of stars. This is where the numbers just start to become completely beyond me. This perspective can make us seem small and perhaps even insignificant, but I will suggest this morning that it also can be very helpful for us in our spiritual growth and development. We all came from the same place, and we all, every person here, is made up of stardust. And that is a pretty unifying history that we share. The American philosopher and theologian Loyal Rue wrote, "The universe is a single reality, one long, sweeping, spectacular process of interconnected events. Evolution is showing us, in the deepest possible sense, that we are all sisters and brothers, fashioned with the same stellar dust, energized by the same star, nourished by the same planet, endowed with the same genetic code, and threatened by the same dangers." This story of evolution and creation bewilders us with the improbability of our existence. I mean, think about the fact that we are one of billions of galaxies, and as far as we know, we are the only ones with a species like us with this kind of consciousness, as far as we know. And it astonishes us with the interdependence of all living things and makes us feel grateful for the lives that we have. How did the universe begin? The Big Bang Theory is certainly the most commonly accepted among scientists, but Ursula Goodenough has pointed out that the name Big Bang is actually not such a great name, because 13.8 billion years ago, there was not an explosion. Rather, in the beginning, everything that now is the universe, including all of ordinary matter, all of black matter and dark energy, all of it was contained in and concentrated in a singularity, smaller than the size of a pinhead. So everything that now exists as matter at that point was concentrated into this singularity. A singularity is a point of density, which is so great that all the known laws of physics don't apply. All our laws of time and space simply don't work when we're talking about this kind of dimension. Thanks to the work of Edward Hubble and other scientists, we know that the universe is expanding, and it is expanding at an accelerating rate. So next image is one of a black hole. This is that bright, shiny light that you see. It's kind of ironic that we call it a black hole, is actually the most distant black hole that has ever been photographed. It is estimated to be 12 billion miles away from the Earth. And black holes, but in this particular image is helping scientists understand how it could be that black holes were formed in the first place. Black holes are among the most mysterious of cosmic objects. They're actually not holes at all. They are huge concentrations of matter packed into very, very dense space. A black hole is so dense that gravity just beneath the surface, what's called the event horizon, is strong enough that nothing, not even light, can escape. And then there is spaghettification. Yes, I said spaghettification. Please turn to your neighbor and try saying the word spaghettification. This is an actual word. It means, this is what happens if an object gets to be too close to a black hole. First it gets squeezed horizontally, then it gets pulled up until it is in the shape of a noodle. And in contemplating some of these images and trying to understand what I was looking at, I felt like my brain was going through a process of spaghettification myself. This is the image of a nebula, which is basically just a very large cloud of gas and dust. This is called the Tarantula Nebula Formation. This galaxy acquired this name because some of this region, to the scientist who named it, resembled a burrowing tarantula's home lined with silk. And again, these images are allowing scientists to understand what they didn't understand before about star formation. The most active, if you look in the middle of that image, and you see that very sparkly part in the center, those are tens of thousands of new stars being formed. And they were previously not visible because they're in cosmic dust. But the X-ray, the infrared X-ray technology of the James Webb Telescope can penetrate that dust. And that's why we're getting all of this new knowledge and information. Here's another one. This is one of my favorite. This is called the Star Nursery. Isn't it just spectacularly beautiful? So beautiful. So this is part of another nebula, which is, as I said, just a big cloud of gas and dust called the Carina Nebula. And in the middle, I don't know if you can see it in this, there's a 2,000 light year formation that looks like a finger pointing up, and that's called the finger of God. But those are new stars that are being born as we speak. So in the early history of galactic evolution, these galaxies were much closer together, and the universe was much more compact than it is today. And as we can see now, the universe has expanded into reaches that are so far away that I can't even, I found the number, it was 60, and then there were 22 zeros after that. So forget about it. We do seem to do better, at least I do, with poetry, with photography, with music, with other forms of artistic expression that come from our imagination, which allow us to circumvent the linear limits of our rational minds. So now let's go to art. And here's a final image. This is an image from an artist's imagination, though it looks very much like a spider web, does it not? And it also looks like many of the other images of the galaxies and their connections. This is a Hindu image that's called Indra's net, and it's thousands and thousands of years old. And it is symbolic of the Hindu understanding of how we are all interconnected, how we are all interconnected beings, and also of the power of our intentions, our thoughts, and our feelings, how they affect one another and ripple out to affect those with whom we are in relationship. So when I said earlier, sometimes looking at, we're this tiny little dot in this massive, massive galaxy and universe, you can feel very insignificant, but when you accept the interconnectedness, then we really know that our lives do matter, and the choices that we matter. And the choice to come from compassion and love makes a difference to the people around us, and they make a difference to the people around them, and they make a difference to the people around them. And on it goes into infinity. So I'm left with the question of, can all of this new understanding of the universe and our place in it help us in terms of our own spiritual growth and development? And I suggest that we are spiritual creatures. We are multidimensional creatures. We are not just bodies and muscles and bones and brains. We have spirit, I would use the word soul, that transcend our material being. And we need to grow and expand just as the universe does. Franciscan priest Richard Rohr, in his book, Falling Upward, talks about the small self. I want to talk now about the small self and the true self, because I think for us, growing spiritually means getting our small self and our true self in right relationship and getting our small self right-sized. Just like the maps that those astronomers before Copernicus created, in which they put the Earth in the center of the universe. When we're in our small selves, we can get trapped in this place where we think we're the center of the universe, right? We get so focused on our own personal agendas and our goals and our concerns and our worries, and our vision and our energy goes inward, and suddenly it seems like we're the whole universe. So escaping from that and remembering that we are all connected, I think, is a very important part of our spiritual growth. Richard Rohr said that our small self is very important in the first part of life because it helps us develop our personalities and do all those ordinary development tasks that are part of the first part of life. But as we mature, we need to make sure that we are getting that small self in the right size and in right relationship with our true selves, because otherwise we can get caught in these egocentric worlds in which it's suddenly all about us, our concerns, our worries. We get overly attached to things like power, status, money. How am I doing? How do I look? What do they think of me? And suddenly we're lost in our small world again. So we can remember, what is our true self? Through the ages, all spiritual and most religious leaders talked about the true self, and they use words like authentic, the self that abides. The Buddhists would say the Buddha nature within each of us. Some Christians would say our true self resides with God, within God always. Through Jesus Christ, we learn to embody the virtues that bring us to those true selves. So we bring different meanings, but I think there's a shared sense that the true self is the heart of hearts, our deepest selves, and where our spirit resides. We, in our true selves, we know what freedom feels like. When you're in your true self and outside of that egocentric focus on yourself, whether you get there through music, nature, love, spiritual experience, you know the freedom of that, right? You're not thinking about yourself. You're away from those worries and concerns for that period of time. It's a wonderful experience. Sometimes we experience these moments of transcendence when we're with a new child or a newborn baby or looking in the face of a beloved dying person. In such moments, our spirits soar. So what can we do to support ourselves in this spiritual journey? Here's where we come right back to awe and radical amazement. As Mark said earlier, awe can take us out of egocentric thinking, at least temporarily. We're not thinking about ourselves when we're in the presence of something bigger that we're connected to. And I think we all, as we've said before, have experienced that, whether we get there through nature or music or love or art or spiritual services. And radical amazement can help us cultivate the qualities of reverence, gratitude, and wonder, and responsibility. Because this planet is our home. We are all creatures being nourished by the same earth. And we are beginning to recognize more and more, as Lance Heidi has so beautifully illustrated in his sermon and his charts here, that interconnection and our proper place in it. Get that last image, Joanna? Those of you who were fortunate to be here last spring when Lance presented this work will recognize this chart. I love these two charts because to me they say so much about what we're learning about our proper place in the world and where we need to go. And I see some people squinting, so I will just say, on the left, that chart says human exceptionalism. You know, up until pretty recently, many of us in the West believed that humans were our proper place was at the top of a chart of creatures. We were the top, and all those creatures and all those resources were there for our use and for us to do what we wished. It is fairly recent in our consciousness that we're coming to understand that because of our interdependence, we are not at the top. The chart on the right, you will notice, is a circle, not a pyramid. And we, as a species, are there among many. And I love this chart because I think it so makes the point that if we recognize that interdependence, then with that we must come a sake of responsibility for this planet that we share with others, that we need to acknowledge that. So, to experience radical amazement, go out at night and look into the night sky. Know that this is where you came from. This is our home. Isn't that astonishing? And that every person here, our bodies are made up of this stellar dust, and that was generated 13.8 billion years ago. As Mark said, you do not need to go off on pilgrimages. You don't have to go up to mountaintop retreats. You can go on an all walk in your neighborhood park or on the beach or even in your own backyard. And again, we urge you to use the QR code in the order of service for more information about all walks and some of the resources. I think you'll be amazed if you take up this practice. They say 15 minutes a day can really make a difference. So finally, I am not suggesting that awe and radical amazement are the only paths towards spiritual growth and development. Meditation, contemplation, prayer, worship, and service. And here at FRS we say, service is our prayer, and we certainly live that out. We just wanted to remind you this morning that awe and radical amazement are always available, always, to you, gifts unearned. Grace. Thank you. Let me now end with grace.
Please rise and join in number 203, All Creatures of the Earth and Sky.
Hallelujah.
join in saying our unison benediction as Betsy Hazen extinguishes the chalice. The words can be found in your order of service. May the love which overcomes all differences, which heals all wounds, which puts to flight all fears, which reconciles all who are separated, be in us and among us, now and always.
My friends, as you leave and go into this week, please remember to look up into the night sky and know that you are part of this magnificence. Please remember to look around and notice the enduring yet transient beauty of this season, and know that you are part of that. As Max Ehrmann wrote so long ago in Desiderata, you are a child of the universe, no less than the trees and the stars. You have a right to be here. Go now in peace and return again with great joy.